Hello, everybody. Very good morning. Welcome to our 9 a.m. class. We discuss verbal ability section for last 5 days, from Tuesday to uh, Saturday. That is today. We have been discussing jumbled paragraphs. Uh, I think we have revised all the questions which have been CAT in last couple of years. Yesterday, we also took a question from ZAT. So I think a lot of ground we are covering, a lot of things which are yet to cover. We will be covering them. This is our uh, link for the Telegram. I know you cannot copy it, but it's there in the this description. In the description, you'll also find the code to get 10% discount on Academy. At the same time, you will also get a lot of free services. So this discount code is has been changed. The current discount code is Saxena Live. Basically, I see Saxena might not work, but Saxena Live is the correct code. You can try both of them. Uh, I'll type the code below. Also, let us know for anything of any special class of anything, any doubts, any concerns, any you do not like about our classes. Share it with the relevant groups and let us know what all improvements we can bring into the make you happy, you support, increase your skills to that level that you become better solving. This is the fifth week, basically covering verbal ability name class. Yeah, let us know what better. So Telegram channel, you type on Academy Just Cat or Just Cat, you will find us and please join our channel. My name is Anupam. I have trained more than 3,500 students for CAT. And, another another 3,500 to 4,000 for other entrances, management entrances, and PSU test, PSU public sector entrance test. Same time, I have been responsible for 31 3,100 hours of that training, and approximately similar amount of time I've spent in training for PSUs and government, other management. Developed verbal ability questions for GMAT clients. So that is an achievement that when I was working in the previous organization, I create questions, ability questions, really comprehension questions of clients such as GMAC and Delhi Police, Mill. And so to stay in touch, download and install an Academy Learning app, plus CAT, subscribe. You get these 5 options in front of you. Anything more than 6 months makes sense to me. If you look at the price, it is for 12 months, it comes down to after discount 15,750. And if you look at it from an EMI standpoint, it comes down to 1458 a month. And you already get 58% off, and after that you get 10% off if you use the code Saxena10. And 875 rupees a month for 24 months. If you look at it from a 24-month standpoint, it comes down to 18,900. Pricing, this is after you use your code Saxena Live. The code is changed, got to know yesterday. And also, this is the pricing. I think it's very good investment if you look at from. And these other these numbers happen to be the EMI options, the amount you have to pay on as an EMI if you want to subscribe to an academy. I think this is a very good investment which you can do as far as your career is concerned. Please utilize it. And we have a lot of free options. We get a lot of free special classes, live classes, which happen happen every day, which are free of cost, for which you don't need any fees. Please utilize that, like the special classes and their quizzes. And at the same time, these YouTube channels are also free, and these classes get recorded. Once they are done, recorded, and you can visit them n number of times, as many number of times. um, so jumbled paragraphs, basically we have these grammar based connections wherein there's a, like we discussed, that there is a pronoun noun connection, or there is a common noun proper noun connection, or there is connection based on common ideas. You know what all ideas they are commonly used, or the two lines, they're connected because they're talking about the same idea, or one line is a is a predecessor of the earlier line, or one line is or the line coming after it has to come after it, because it is taking the idea forward, or it is giving some more information, or it is supporting the line above it. So there is a clear cut connection. Or if they're talking about the same thing, for example, uh, a line talks about a certain kind of disorder, a certain kind of issues which humans face, and the line next to it should be when, if that line is giving some examples or some names of those problems, of those diseases which human face. So there should be a clear cut connection, right? So let's see here. It says people, four sentences labeled 1, 2, 3, 4 given below, when properly sequenced, would yield a coherent paragraph. Decide on the proper sequence of the order of sentences and key in the four numbers as you answer. So it's again your simple paragraph, jumbled paragraph here. And it says that people dyslexia with dyslexia have difficulty with print reading, and people with autism spectrum disorder have difficulty with mind reading. Dyslexia have difficulty with print reading. People with autism spectrum disorder have difficulty with mind reading. They're talking about some, even if we don't know what is dyslexia, even if we don't know autism spectrum disorder, we still get to know that we are talking about some sort of a problem, some sort of a special condition, you know, which some humans face. Uh, but I think this dyslexia has been written about and been spoken of in media, mass media, in newspapers, in cinemas. Uh, so probably a lot of people know that this dyslexia is related to when people are not able to read or write, um, or write properly. Uh, then so they probably the spellings are an issue and sounds are an issue with them. People with dyslexia have problem with print reading, and people with autism spectrum disorder have difficulty with mind reading. Uh, so so we know that they're talking about some problem. That is what we know. So also we get to know that at least this line, people with dyslexia have difficulty with print reading, and this probably will not be the first line, or it can be the first line. There's a possibility also. We're not sure, okay, but it can be the first line or it may not be the first line. That we know for sure. Okay, it's talking about people with dyslexia, talking about people with autism spectrum disorder. So just, and it's talking about two things: about reading, it's talking about mind reading. Next comes an example of a lost cognitive instinct is mind reading, our capacity to think of ourselves and others as having beliefs, desires, thoughts, and it says an example of a lost cognitive instinct. What is cognitive instinct? Cognitive instincts are related to your the certain ability of being aware of our behavior and reacting according to it. For example, you are aware of your behavior, if you're aware of the external behavior of others around you, and you react according to it, or you process some information. So cognitive ability is related to your mental faculty, your ability to think, your ability to process, and your ability to react. So an example of a lost cognitive instinct is mind reading, our ability, our capacity to think of ourselves and others as having having beliefs. Talking about mind reading, which was given earlier here, and our capacity to think ourselves. So it's talking about, it is giving a definition of mind reading. Okay. So probably this is something, because in a like I always say that parajumble is a very small piece of writing. There are only 4 lines. If one line is talking about mind reading itself, that means that probably the entire paragraph is also about mind reading, or it's one of the two or three. It's the one idea which has been discussed, or it's that one or two ideas which are important, which have been discussed. Now 3 says it, mind reading increasingly looks like literacy. A skill we know for sure is not in our genes, since scripts have been around for, so it's now it is comparing It says mind reading looks increasingly like literature. So there's now there's a connection here. First, it says mind reading looks increasingly like literacy, a skill we know for sure is not in our genes. And since scripts have been around for, so it is creating an comparison, it's creating uh, an analogy between reading, between mind reading and reading books. Okay. So and you know it's and it's like literacy. So this talks about literacy. This talks about literacy. A skill we know for sure is not in our genes since scripts have been around for only 5 to 6,000 years. Okay. Then comes print reading like mind reading. Now this talks about print reading. So we know for sure that after 2 comes 3, right? If we put it this way, 2 after 2 comes 3. Why? 2 talks about that an example of a lost uh, cognitive instinct, that is then our ability to understand, process, and then react and talk, take some decisions, or have some beliefs, is mind reading. 3 talk, and then they give a definition about mind reading here. Then 3 comes. 3 is saying 3 says mind reading looks increasingly like literacy. A skill we know for sure is not in our genes since scripts have been around only for 5 to 6,000 years. Then since I've spoken about literacy and scripts, then that means that next line will be 4th, because 4th talks about what? Print reading. Print reading like literacy and scripts here. Since scripts have been around only for 5 to 6,000 years. Then comes print reading, like so after print reading comes after scripts come print reading. Print reading, like mind reading, varies across cultures, depends heavily on certain parts of brain, and is subject to developmental disorder. Print reading is also like mind reading. So what happens that, remember one thing, that if in a paragraph 2 terms are mentioned, so they mentioned, then information about them will be given in the same order of their appearance. Here mind reading came earlier, information about it is given, then print reading comes here, then information about it is given here. And there is connection established. So in 3 we talk about mind reading, how it is like literacy because it is not in our genes. uh, and print reading looks like mind reading because it varies across culture, depending on part of brain, and subject to developmental disorders. Now this here disorder connects to this part, people with dyslexia. So developmental or connects to here that people with dyslexia have difficulty with print reading, and people with autism spectrum disorder have difficulty with mind reading. There's a clear-cut connection. 4 relates to 1. Two, three, four. Okay, that's this though. Starting with what is a lost. Also, if you see, I from the very beginning I knew that first, that second is a starting line. Reason why? Because it first is that it talks about an example of a lost. It sort of sets the tone. Okay, and now I'm going to talk about a lost cognitive instinct, which is mind reading. Then I will give some information about it, compare it with one more skill. Then I will compare that very skill with which I'm comparing mind reading to. I'll talk about that skill, how that skill is similar to mind reading, and then I will talk about that how these both can be are dependent on developmental disorders, the special conditions which some of humans face, and that is people with and that are people who suffer from dyslexia and people who suffer with autism spectrum. Right, so this is how it is. Let's go to the next jumble paragraph. Right, it looks a little small, right? It looks, the print is a little small. I hope the screen is not getting four sentences labeled 1, 2, 3, 4 given below, when properly sequenced, would yield a coherent paragraph. Decide on the proper sequence of the order of the sentences and key in the sequences of the 4 number as your answer. One says metaphor may map. Enter it so that there's a. I will delete this. No, this is, you've already understood what this is. This jumble question. Nothing great about it, but we should always read question that matter. 1. 2. 3. One says metaphor may map to metaphor. See, metaphors may map to similar meanings across languages, but these subtle differences can have a profound effect on our understanding of the world. Metaphors may map to a similar meaning across languages, but their subtle differences. We're talking about metaphor here. What is a metaphor? Metaphor is means that when a certain reference is used to refer to a problem or to a condition of which it may not be an accurate description, but it refers to it. For example, we talk about social fabric. Okay, so when we say that that the social fabric of this particular city is very strong, or it's very secular, or it's very weak, okay, then we say that the connections between people on at the social level, in be their whatever be their caste, creed, color, religion, those relationship of individually, they are strong or they're weak or they're healthy or they're not healthy. So fabric we compare to human relations, right? So in a similar way, we sometimes use metaphors to um, to uh, to refer to it. For example, we use a term such as death's icy hand. Death's icy hand. So death's icy hand. So we know that death is just a term. It's just an idea. Just the name of an idea which we have given. Okay, people lose. Their heart stops pumping, or they don't. Their body sort of the primary body organs, they do not work, and so we call it death. They're dead, or we bury them, or we whatever ritual we want to do with them, we do that. But we never seen death as a human being. But we imagine that if death were to be a human, were to be an animal, we have compared the coldness and somberness, the sadness and the gloominess which we attach which we attach death to. We have said that death's cold icy hands. So it's a metaphor. Now this is saying that so death. So when we say death's icy hand, it may sound correct. When we say social fabric, it may sound correct in English, but if we translate these metaphor, social fabric of the city of Lucknow, a social fabric of the people of India, or death's icy hand, let's say John could not survive, or John survived survived and came back from the clutches of death's icy hands. If we have to translate this sentence or this reference phrase into Hindi, or into Kannada, or into Marathi, or say Bangla, Kashmiri, we will not be able to find exact terms to translate it. So what happens is saying that metaphors may map to similar meanings across languages, but their subtle differences can have profound effect on our understanding. It says that the subtle differences can have a profound effect on our understanding of the world. Second says, Latin scholars point out carpe diem. What is carpe diem? Carpe diem, I think people must have heard about it. Carpe diem is about carpe diem is a horticulture metaphor that, particularly seen in the context of a source, is more accurately described as plucking the day, evoking the plucking and gathering of ripening fruits or flowers, enjoying a moment that is rooted in the sensory experience of nature, unrelated to the force impede in seizing. Okay, so it says that Latin scholars have pointed out that it's related to the horticulture or to the gardening aspect, in which they say that it refers to plucking and gathering of ripening fruits or flowers, enjoying a moment that is rooted in the sense, it's in the sensory. So they're saying that enjoying the moment, so carpe diem meant that to sort of sense that the nature, basically sense experience of nature, of ripening fruit or a flowers or something of that, or gathering of it or plucking of it. So it's talk about that connection with trees, with plants, basically. And it's not referring to force, the force implied in seizing. Now this is also referring to something else. Okay, so right now we cannot find a connection, but we'll find it, don't worry. Okay, the phrase carpe diem, which is often translated as seize the day, and it's accompanying the phrase carpe diem, yahan pe aa gaya. The phrase carpe diem, also if you see here, metaphor has also come. Metaphor has come here. Okay, the phrase here, they're talking about phrase, the phrase carpe diem. Okay, the phrase carpe diem, which is often translated as seize the day, and its accompanying philosophy. Carpe diem is often translated as seize the day, and its accompanying. So carpe diem means, carpe diem generally in our present day context means that we talk about uh, that it is about living in the present moment. Okay, carpe diem is also used commonly nowadays for a lot of festivals, a lot of college festival. A lot of people have it, have this phrase tattooed onto their hands, and a lot of people uh, write it or quote it in their WhatsApp status. If you see, they use this. I was using this around 2 years back, I believe, this particular phrase in my WhatsApp status, I remember. So that phrase carpe diem, which is often translated as seize the day, it's about being in the moment, seize the day, and it's accompanying philosophy has gone to inspire countless people in how they live their lives, and motivates us to see the world a little differently from the norm. So basically, seize the day carpe diem has sort of impacted lives of people, of how they see the world differently from the norm. It says, quote says, it's an example of one or more telling ways that we mistranslate metaphors. It's an example. What is an example? It's an example. It is an example of it is an example of one or more telling ways that we mistranslate the metaverse. So what had happened, if you remember here, we were talking about carpe diem, talking about you know the seizing of life here, the seize the day and seizing here. Now, similar idea has been mentioned in 2 here. 2 says that 3 says that this carpe diem means that we live in the present moment and we don't think about future, and a lot of people have utilized this idea in their lives and they've made some changes in their lives. They have considered it as a life mantra. 2 says that it's rated, it says that it is actually a horticulture metaphor, which means plucking the day, meaning to gathering the fruits and ripening flowers, enjoying the moment with respect to the sensory experience of nature, and it is not related to the force applied in seizing. So 3 and 2 are a connection because 3 talks about seizing the day, and it gives a reference to force, wherein 3 and 2 talks about that it is not related to force, it is about sensory experience, touching the fruit, touching the leaves, touching the plants, having that sort of an experience, natural experience, one which people have in their forest or in the gardens. Okay, so 3, 2. Then comes 4, because 4 says that it's an example. What is an example? This error which has happened. Okay, it is unrelated to it. And 4 talks about the same thing, that it is an example of one or more telling ways that we mistranslate. Actually, it's a correct word, maybe because it's typed into some say British English. That's why it is the language reference is British. That's why it is mistranslate is incorrect, but mistranslate is a correct spelling. We mistranslate metaphors from one language to so they are saying about that when we translate, okay, of metaphors from one language to another, revealing in the process our hidden assumptions that we really value. So when we were translating, we were translating based on our hidden assumptions of what we really value. It was not the true idea, basically. So 2 and 4 is correction, and then comes 4 and 1, because one talks about this will confuse you, so I am deleting this. Also not very relevant in that sense. How? So what happens that we so 2 is connected to 3 because there is clear 3 is connected to 2 because we spoke about carpe diem, what its meaning. 2 said that actually it has a difference in meaning, and the force implied in seizing was mentioned here, so there's a clear connection because the force is referring to in the seizing is referring to the line immediately before it. 3, 2 are a pair. Then after 2 comes 4 because the error which has been made in 2 has been referred to in 4. It is an example of one of the more telling ways that we mistranslate metaphors from one language to another, revealing the process some assumption. Then the green part here refers to here 1, which says that metaphors may map to similar meanings across languages, but the subtle differences can have a profound effect on our understanding of the right. So this is 3 to let's try and solve. If you people want to ask any questions, please ask me. I think the question. 4 sentences labeled 1, 2, 3, 4 given below, when properly sequenced, would yield a coherent paragraph. Decide on the proper sequence of the order of the sentences and key in the sequence of 4 numbers as your answer. It's again a parajumble, we know. We live under a mob rule. We all live under mob rule. We all live under mob rule until then, which doesn't help anyone. Until then, that means first is not the, it is clearly not the first line because it is referring to something else, not the first. Talking about mob rule. And doesn't help anyone, and it's clearly not the first line. Okay, and 2 says, so there'll be some connection to this mob rule line somewhere, this term somewhere. So what's mob rule? Mob rule is that when there is mobocracy, which means that mob is an emotionally charged group of people. The mob is a group which is has been sort of brainwashed in a way, in which the passions run very high, and it has sort of lost its ability to reason out things, basically to reason out and think for themselves. So in mob, what happens that a lot of things are common, certain things will be uncommon also, but it's a group of people who have in a certain way who have a common set of passions and belief system, and they believe in certain similar ideals, or at this point they believe in it. And mob can be divided also, but again it will be very violent, and they may have differences also between them. So 2 people who are standing in the mob, they may have differences from each other also, but for that particular cause, for that particular issue for which they are engaged, they are in a way they are together in that particular fight. So it's not a good thing. It's a very जिसको हम लोग हिंदी में भीड़ कहते हैं, you know, there's a group of people who can do anything, but that isn't a very logical thing to do. Okay? 2 says, perhaps we need to learn to condense the feedback we received online so that 100 replies carry the same weight just as 1. So 2 says that perhaps we need to condense the feedback. He's talking about some feedback here. We don't know which feedback it is talking about. Okay, and it's saying that, okay, so it's saying that instead of having 100 replies, we give 1 reply. So we have to condense the feedback, and we have to the power of 1 should be same as power of 100, right? So it is talking about reducing the number of replies, or number of likes, or number of hits, or number of feedbacks, or number of comments, but one feedback, big feedback, which is condensed, that should be enough. We need not give them talk about 1,000 things. 1,000 people need not talk about 1,000 things. When one person can talk about 1,000 things, and we can close the entire issue in one way. 3 says, as we grow more comfortable with social media conversations being part of the way we interact every day, we are going to have to learn how to deal with we will have to learn how to deal with legitimate criticism. So it is talking about yeah, so it is saying that we are talking about social media. We have to learn to deal with criticism. Learn to deal with criticism. So and then 4 says that a new norm will arise where it is considered unacceptable to reply with same points that dozens have already done. So yeah, so when will this new norm arise? When this happens, people learn to condense the feedback we receive online. So after 2 comes 4. There is a clear-cut connection between 2 and 4. Okay, and if you also see, there's a connection between 3 and 2 also. How? We are going to have to learn how to deal with legitimate criticism. So the kind of criticism we receive, we have to learn to deal with them. And how do we deal with them? We have to learn to condense the feedback we receive. So this is talking about how to manage our the criticism between which we condense the feedback. Same idea, same thing. So 3 and 2 are a pair, and if we do that, what happens? A new norm will arise where it is considered unacceptable to reply with the same point. If we condense the feedback, then what happens? It will result in a culture wherein talking about the same thing which others have spoken already will become unacceptable. So it's a culture will form up, an online culture will come up, which will be good basically. And then comes 1 that we'll all live under mob rule until then, which doesn't help any. We'll all live under mob rule till then, which doesn't help anyone. So till that point, we will be getting thousands and hundreds of reply till the new norm doesn't come. So 3241 is the right answer. Yeah, 3241 is. That dozens have said already. This is also same as mob rule, right? Liquid connection. 3 and 2 are connected because talking about 3 talk about how to deal with criticism, 2 talks about how we learn to condense the feedback, then 4 talks about the dozens of others have already said something, and then 1 says that we'll all live under mob rule. All right, I think yeah. Okay, let's meet today again at 2 p.m. and then from Monday onwards 9 a.m. and at 2 p.m. again. tomorrow I'll be taking a bit of a rest in a big week. All right. Unacademy subscription offers you live classes. You get to interact with the educator. You get live polls and leaderboard, test series, and analysis, and you also get live doubt clearing sessions. You use the code Saxena10 to get 10% discount. And please, please subscribe to Unacademy. Validate us and validate yourself. Respect yourself, and do the needful so that your future is secure. Your invest wisely in your future. And thank you very much. We also get a lot of free classes on an Academy app. You get free special live classes, and we also get uh, uh, quizzes as well. So this Wednesday there's a class, and then mostly next Sunday is also a special class. Sunday is special class. So please utilize them, and